So welcome back, everybody, to Reejig's Skills Masterclass. It's the place where we unbundle work one industry at a time. Today's session is all about the automotive industry, one of the largest and most influential sectors in the global economy, as you know. It contributes to $3.9 trillion to the global economy, accounting for approximately 5% of global GDP. And directly employing nearly 14 million people worldwide. So a huge industry that we're kind of eager to deep dive onto as well. In the US alone, if we focus only on the US, the automotive industry contributes to 1.6 trillion, making up 4% of the country's GDP, and employs 1.7 million people directly, with millions more related industries such as parts manufacturing, logistics, and sales as well. So with demand for automotive professionals kind of expected to grow significantly, actually the industry is on track for a 7.2 compound annual growth rate, a CAGR from 2024 to 2028, driven by advancements in technology, electrification, autonomous driving, and connected car technology as well. So a lot has evolved in the past years and will continue to evolve, as Mike was saying, and rightfully so, at a faster pace than ever before, right? Electric vehicle sales have skyrocketed. We see that every day for those of us on the streets, with a 40% global increase in 2023, and projected to make up to 30% of all vehicle sales by 2030, which is around the corner as well. So on my side, welcome everybody. I'm Nuno Goncalves. I'm the head of workforce strategy here at Reejig. And I'm joined by Mike Reed. Mike is the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Reejig. We will try to give you some insights and good insights for you to take to your day, and if you're in this industry or if you like this industry as well. So we're here to simplify the complexities of this industry and any other industry, using data to help you unlock your workforce potential, which is something that is very dear to the heart of Reejig as well. So let's deep dive on what's happening right now and how we can build a bold and responsible workforce for the future. Let me talk you through a little bit of our agenda as well. If you can just a bit before, Mike, just to give a little bit of a framing of everything that we will be doing today. We'll start with what's happening in the automotive industry. Very wide. You've seen a slide there with the CEOs and how leaders are prioritizing and discussing how to build a bold and responsible workforce. You continue to listen, Reejig talking about bold and responsible. What is this and how some of the CEOs are taking this approach as well. We'll look at practical strategies to reinvent our workforce, dive into some examples, and wrap up with key takeaways and a personalized opportunity for you to take action as well. So Mike will cover the data in depth. He's brilliant in telling the stories about behind the data, and you'll have a blast there. And I'll guide you through some of the stories and strategies as well. So industry outlook, we'll talk about our work ontologies. We'll talk about something that for this industry in particular is very important, which is this AI impact assessment, reskilling strategy. How do we do this? And then from here, how do we take action as well? So if we go to the next slide, then Mike, what you'll see is that from a general kind of overview of the automotive industry. So 2023, the global automotive industry was valued in 3.9 trillion, contributing to 5% of global GDP and supporting directly nearly 14 million jobs worldwide. It's a massive economic footprint, making this one of the most influential industries in the world. Last year alone, there were nearly 92 million vehicles produced globally, with revenue growing 4.5%, fueled by strong demand across North America, Europe, and a rebound in the Chinese market as well, which has an interesting landscape of competition also there. Looking ahead, if we look forward, the industry is set to continue, as we said, for continued expansion, projected 7.2 compound annual growth rate, as I mentioned before, from 2024 to 2028, and driven by key trends, as I said, electrification, automation, connected car technology, all the things that we as car users and owners and drivers have seen evolved in the past years as well. If we focus on the US, we saw a strong rebound in 2023, with 5% of market growth and 15 million vehicles sold. But one of the biggest shifts is, and as you've seen, electric car vehicles sales surged by 50% year over year, thanks to government incentives and growing consumer demand, at least the incentives that we've been having and we've been seeing in the US for the time being, and that might eventually be changing and evolving in the future as well. So these numbers are very clear and paint a very clear picture. This is an industry in transformation, as you can see, with automation, with technology. And for us, in which is a lot of our focus is not only to understand what is this transformation, how much are the companies transforming in this industry, but also what's the impact on work, and then what's the impact on people and on the skills. So on one side, you have this industry with big transformation that will impact the workforce, the way that these companies will do the work. And on the other side, that means that there will be an impact on the skills that ultimately these companies will need, and how can we upskill and reskill the employees of these companies as well. So a deeper dive, let's go deep dive on further on what does this mean for us and for the overall workforce strategy that Reejig continues to lead as well. So if we click on the next slide, what you'll see is, you know, some of the most iconic and prominent CEOs of this industry. So if we look at the future of the automotive industry, which is the focus, it's important to understand what's on the minds of the leaders shaping it, right? So you can see Jim Farley, Ford CEO, focusing on scaling EV businesses, the electric vehicles businesses, while ensuring it remains profitable. It's been a big shift in the past decade or so. The question is now is from profit margins. How do they ultimately ensure it continues to remain profitable as well? So big challenges from a sustainable perspective, but also from a financial perspective. Our battery costs remain the most expensive part of an electric vehicle. That's why Ford is investing heavily in battery production and recycling, a move that could definitely kind of shape the next era of electric vehicles affordability as well. Mary Barra, from an iconic CEO of General Motors, is tackling another major challenge for us, which is around supply chain resilience. The semiconductor shortage was a wake up for the industry, highlighting the risks of relying on distant supply chains. General Motors is now making aggressive investments in US-based battery and semiconductor manufacturing to secure its EV strategy and maintain long-term competitiveness as well. A side note here, we were having a conversation with someone and a client on the automotive industries, and there's a significant concern that is new as well in the past weeks around the tariffs that are impacting also some of the supply chain, value chain and the supply chain strategy as well. Imagine that you have in some of those companies parts moving from country to country, and if in every single one of those countries the tariffs become bigger, then obviously there will be more pressure on profitability and cost overall to produce the cars, and therefore being pushed to the consumer. So how to overcome some of those external economic challenges as well is something that all of these CEOs will have to tackle, and in this case in particular on the supply chain and on the costs built from there. And then we have Oliver Zipse. He's CEO of BMW, emphasizing on workforce transformation required for the shift of electric to autonomous vehicles as well. It's not just about investing in new technology. It's also about the skilling, the upskilling and reskilling the workforce to ensure that they have the right expertise to design, to build, and service the next generation of vehicles. So if there is any doubt that this is an industry that is transforming, it will require new skills. They will require new skills because work is transforming it as well. And again, this connection between being very bold in the way that you transform, in the way that you do your work, and the skills that you'll need, and the upskilling and reskilling of your workforce as well. So beyond these executive priorities, there are key themes emerging across the industry. One, strategic investments, workforce reskilling, manufacturing delays, regulatory hurdles, and advancements in autonomous systems as well. So the message is very clear for us. It's the automotive industry is undergoing massive transformation, and we believe that companies that prioritize both the technology advancements, the transformation of work, and also prioritize the upskilling and reskilling, the preparation of their talent, will lead the way. I think that's true not only on the automotive industry, but in every single industry that is going through massive transformation that we've been seeing so far. So if we dive even further in how we can apply these insights to workforce strategy, and go to the next slide, those of you guys that follow Reejig, you know that we are all about optimization and making sure that all companies have the ability to transform and be very bold in the way that they transform. We know that where we are, work will not be done ever as it was done in the past decades. What does this mean for every single industry? What does this mean for every single company? Every single one needs to be very bold to make sure that they are as efficient and as fast and as profitable as possible, and creating the value in innovation, and in sustainability as well. So be very bold. But on the other side, and this is what I love about Reejig, is that we believe that while we're being bold, we also need to be very responsible. And what is this? Is that we need to drive the way towards a place where work will be faster, will be better, will be more valuable, but where we will have human beings with the right skills to do the right job, and sustainable jobs as well. And this is where this intersection and I love this mutuality of these two pieces, on one side being bold and responsible, where we believe that we want a world where we will have zero wasted potential as well. So how do you leaders in the automotive ensure that you're bold and responsible? So as we said, we believe on this balance of work and of bold and responsible. We believe that it's all about, and you first need to understand your workforce at a deeper level. And for you to do that, you need to understand the work. So you understand the work, you go to the level of the task, to the level of the subtasks, you understand how are you automating some of those subtasks and those tasks, and what is the impact of those subtasks on your overall organizational design, on your overall skills demand and skills supply as well. So if you have that visibility, and you leverage AI to remove inefficiencies and decrease duplications as well, then you'll be able to be bold on the way that you transform and be able to understand what will be the impact on your workforce as well. So for us, as I said, very important that no one is left behind, right? We need to bring people along this very fast journey of change and transformation. And this is about creating access to meaningful work, a work that will be sustainable, work that will continue to coexist with all the AI agents that we'll continue to see more and more in the workforce, and where we'll continue to complement each other, AI and humans, to create value for the organizations, for the society, and for the world at large as well. So it's about creating, as I said, access to meaningful work for everyone, ensuring that your workforce, our workforce, evolves as the industry changes as well. So bringing everybody along. So how to build a bold and responsible workforce. And these are the three dimensions that we believe are key dimensions of this journey. Step number one, reinvent your workforce. Be bold, as we said. Understand work at a task level to uncover AI opportunities, to eliminate duplication and future-proof your workforce. Then as you understand work, then you need to understand what is the impact, the work on the worker, on the person. And it is what we call move work to worker, to boost productivity by aligning tasks with the right people through opportunities like gigs, projects, and mobility, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, as you understand the impact on people, you will uncover and you'll understand that will be net new tasks, and you'll uncover that you will eventually need to upskill or even reskill people moving forward. What does this mean? So retaining and reskilling, creating a culture of growth, of development, by reskilling employees and pivoting them into roles that will meet future demands, which is absolutely critical as well. So if you follow these three steps, which for us is our guiding principles: reinvent your workforce, move work to worker, retain and reskill, you'll design a workforce that will be ready for what's coming and will be ready for what's next as well. So if we move to the next slide, you'll see some details on our, very interesting. So a key insight that I believe was an insight that Reejig had, 2.5 years ago, is that ultimately, while we were trying to understand the needs for the skills and with the skills of tomorrow, a key insight is the following: the skills do not get automated. So follow the logic here. Jobs have tasks. AI automates those tasks, and the task needs skills. So people have skills. So what does this mean? So with our ontology, we are able to bring and somehow triangulate these two, these three dimensions. One, the jobs in itself, the tasks that are within the jobs, and the skills that are needed to perform those jobs as well. So everybody is made up of, every job is made up of tasks, as you see, and the real building blocks of work. And that's very clear, critical for us as well. Let me give you an example. So take in this industry, take a dealership administrative assistant, right? Their job isn't just about managing schedules. It's about completing tasks like billing, data entry, customer service. With AI automating many of these functions, these roles will be and are at risk one way or the other. But the reality is, those are skills that can be done and ultimately used in many other places as well. So how do we find the places that are the best use of those skills one way or the other? When you view work through the lens of tasks, everything becomes clearer. Because most of the times we try to understand what are the skills that we're going to need, but that's only a consequence of how you evolve your work. So if you first look at the tasks, then the connection of the skills that you'll need will become much faster as well and much easier as well. So AI and automation, as we say, aren't replacing skills. They're performing specific tasks like generating reports, analyzing data sets. Tasks are also measurable. You can evaluate whether a sales pitch closed or a deal or a campaign hits its target or not. Skills, on the other hand, are more abstract and harder sometimes to quantify one way or the other. Tasks are stable, stay stable, while skills evolve. Writing a report is still writing a report, but the tools to do it, whether it's pen, paper, or AI writing assistants, are constantly changing, right? The way that we do the task one way or the other. So work is always organized around tasks, not skills. So businesses don't hire for vague qualities like problem solving. They hire for someone that is able to ultimately to solve a specific problem and complete a specific task. And of course, you bring the skills with you so that you're actually able to perform on those tasks. So the toolkit, as we said, for the future is very simple. Jobs have tasks, tasks need skills, people have skills, and AI automates tasks, not skills. So this for us and Reejig has this task-first approach, because it is the foundation of finding and identifying what the impact will have on the workforce and on the people as well, and how, and guide you through an action to upskill and reskill your employees as needed as well. That's both bold, to be, both bold in innovation and responsible in execution as well. So that bold and responsibility piece, as you can see. So if we actually go to the next slide, we'll see an extract of the work ontology that we build, that Reejig builds. Reejig has built 23 different industry-specific ontologies. This is an extract of some of the data that we are able to provide to the organization. So it helps map your job architecture, and it helps map the tasks that are within each of the jobs that you have in your organization. It helps understand what is the correlation between the jobs, the tasks, and the skills. So you will understand what are the skills that you'll need to deliver every single one of these tasks. And the interesting thing is that most of the times, the relationship between tasks and skills, it's typically 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, meaning for one task, you will need 3 to 5 skills to be able to actually deliver on that task. And that's one of the things that Reejig's work ontology is actually delivering, is that correlation between jobs, all the jobs in the industry, between the tasks, the work, but also what are the skills then needed to do these tasks. So if we have that information, that's our foundation of work. And if we start understanding what is the AI potential for every single one of these tasks, we can aggregate by jobs, we can aggregate by subfamilies and by families, and understand ultimately what is the exposure for AI automation for every single one of those tasks, and therefore what is the exposure for every single one of those jobs. And if you continue to aggregate, what is the exposure for every single one of your subfamilies and families, to AI as well. So that will give you key insights on that exposure, but it will give you key insights on many of the other things that you can see also there, which is how can you be faster, how can you be more efficient, how can you ultimately reduce duplication and so on and so forth. So Reejig's work ontology will help you map the entire job architecture, as I was saying, revealing the AI potential for tasks, identifying opportunities to reskill employees. It's about creating a workforce that is more agile, efficient, and ready to take the future. If we see the next slide, you'll see a bit more information on what Reejig can reveal about your workforce and industry as well. So those are 4 critical dimensions for us. I've double-clicked on the AI potential index, this aggregation between tasks, and then at jobs and subfamilies and so on and so forth. You will be able to see which side of your organization is more exposed to potential to automation, and likely the place where you want to start automating and where you'll have eventually more advantages and benefits for automation. We are also looking at workforce load and task duplication. How do you streamline work to increase productivity? By identifying redundant tasks. Companies are very complex, and most definitely and typically have tasks being done in many different places that ultimately don't produce the efficiency levels that we require. So if we identify these redundant tasks, we then can free up our workforce for high value activities as well. So if we consider AI return of investment in timeline, what's the cost impact of implementing AI? How long until you start seeing results? This starts to give you a clear picture of the value of AI that AI can deliver as well. So and finally, the reskilling, which is the other piece, the responsibility side, right? What are the roles that are most impacted? What are you going to do from, if you impact those roles? How will you redesign your organization to do the work of the future? And then also, how do you ensure that you have the right people with the right skills to deliver the critical jobs and of your organization to help you be successful moving forward as well? So this is how we provide a roadmap for a more productive, future-ready workforce, as you can see. So let's take the dealer administrative assistant kind of and back off clerks as an example, as we were saying. So these roles handle critical tasks like billing, scheduling, customer records, as you know. But with AI-driven customer service tools and digital sales platforms, up to 60% of these tasks can be automated. We've been talking about robotic process automation, RPA tools, right? Like UiPath and automation anywhere, for example. Organizations can achieve 35% savings in time savings and time reduction, and 25% cost savings by streamlining repetitive tasks. So how do you do this, right? How do you transform and be very bold and actually be able to streamline what do you do, accelerate what you do as well? So if you ultimately have this transformation and you're fast to implementation, one way or the other, you will need some time to be able to start reskilling your associates, your employees, and ultimately to ensure that you have this adoption within your organization and start reaping some of the benefits of your of this automation as well. So, and the workforce benefits as well, right? So employees can transition into process automation specialist roles, data analyst roles, leveraging data analytics and AI-powered CRM tools as well to drive efficiency rather than being displaced by it. So as we continue to say, it's about giving clarity of the evolution of work, upskilling, reskilling people to actually do the work that we need in the future as well. So we'll unpack more of this later in our conversation as well. So let's move to next slide, and as we take a closer look at the automotive workforce composition and how it's evolving. Right now, the industry is made up of 40% manufacturing skilled technicians, a significant part, a big chunk, 25% of sales and aftermarket service specialists, 20% engineering and R&D roles, and 50% in other roles, right? Smaller portion, but ultimately 85% manufacturing skilled technicians, sales and aftermarket service specialists, and engineering and R&D roles are kind of the bulk of this industry. But these numbers are shifting, right? And this is the most interesting thing is with AI and automation reshaping the industry, the portion and the percentage of of these numbers are shifting. In manufacturing, 20 to 25% of production processes are becoming automated. We've talked about this, reducing costs and freeing up workers for more, for example, for more EV-specific tasks, which is something that is newer as well. Meanwhile, engineering and R&D roles are seeing 30 to 40% annual growth, particularly in AI, battery technology, and autonomous systems. This shift means companies need to reskill and upskill their workforce, not just to keep up with the automation, because it's the pace of change and innovation has been kind of growing as significantly, and we believe that it will become exponential. So not just to keep up with the automation, but to actually lead the industry transition to electric and autonomous vehicles as well. So very clearly, as if anything in the past minutes that we've been talking about, significant transformation in an industry, every single player trying to understand how to be better, more efficient, faster, and then also trying to understand how to reskill and upskill their workforce. So how do business ensure that they have the right talent for this transformation? That's what we will be exploring next as well. So if we just jump in for a second.
Go ahead, jump in. You made a really interesting point there about the shifting numbers, and the automotive industry, I think in the data is an interesting one where the nature of the work is shifting, but that high level perspective of where people sit in an org and what they're doing maybe isn't shifting so much. I think the things that are at play here are significant. It is a significant transformation to go from a combustion engine platform to what is effectively you're delivering a software platform in a lot of instances. That's a very big shift. At the same time, I think we saw back early that there's corporately, there's a real focus on what in the manufacturing industry we call reshoring, concern over supply chain, taking responsibility for the whole of the production cycle from batteries and all of the other componentry around it. So I think we see what in some areas we might have been worried, we're going to lose roles to robots. Well, the nature of production is changing significantly. There's also this expansion in responsibility. So I think there's a lot of those, what would have been considered the directly relevant workforce on the shop floor delivering some of these outputs because of that expansion of the reshoring exercise to secure up supply chain and resilience. I think the automotive industry is really powerfully positioned to leverage the investment they've got in their people and the experience they have in their people and transition them from this old way of working to the new. So I think the numbers that we're looking at here are indicating that we're maybe not in the middle of it, but we're already on that journey.
It's a great point, Mike, and I think for those of us that are in the call that also are more focused on the people development side, on the skills development side, we know that developing skills takes time, right? And sure, understanding what are these transferable skills, right? Because you're transferring and transforming work. How can you utilize the skills that everybody has built in your organization so that you transition them to this new work will be essential, and it will take time. So the earliest you can understand the impacts of your work, the earliest you can have a perspective of how you are rejigging your workforce, the earliest you will be able to understand and act on the reskilling and upskilling of your people and accordingly as well. So I think it's a great point, Mike. Thank you.
No worries. Let's jump into looking at some key elements within the industry. So we're focusing here on 3 roles that are most immediately most impacted by potential optimization and improvement in efficiency. So in this industry, it's the manufacturing workers, AV engineering and AI developers. Again, this has rapidly emerged in this industry as a key subsector of the workforce, will continue to evolve, and aftermarket service technicians. So we jump into those. What we see looking at the manufacturing workers is potentially in the existing infrastructure, a legacy of having been through this process of roboticizing production lines. So that in the historic being maybe 5 years ago, delivery of cars to market, a lot of that efficiency has already been deployed to manage inventory, manage process, manage delivery, manage farm to plate, getting the car in the hands of the buyer quicker. But we're also now really looking at bolting onto that the EV market and reshoring the battery market. So all of those skills that go around that are happening at the same time. The benefit we see in the data around this element is that it's started to some extent from a reasonably blank slate. So the production facilities around EV batteries and the production facilities around AV and EV vehicles themselves can be set up with the benefit of AI and robotics and automation there on day one. So they're already established with that framework in mind, which is why we've seen such a rapid growth in the AI elements of that workforce. There is an expectation of a workforce impact here, significant in the 20 to 30%. My feeling from the data is that needs to be balanced with this reshoring exercise where organisations are taking more responsibility of more of the food, more of the supply chain. So it's not just bringing together all the parts into the factory that puts them together. It's also those manufacturing parts, whether it's the electronic componentry, whether it's the onboard systems, whether it's the batteries themselves. So while there is a significant likely impact on existing workforce, the opportunities to upskill and redeploy that workforce across the whole of the supply chain that you're looking to make resilient is significant. The other thing that stands out here clearly is that this is a capital intensive exercise. It is not a short-term exercise. It's not like giving a copywriter Grammarly and they've improved their output. These are significant capital expenditures, whether it's in a brand new facility or it's refurbing existing facility. So the timelines here are significant. The opportunity here is significant for the organisation. The opportunity for the workforce is also significant but real. So it's a real transformation that needs to happen. If we jump and look at AV engineers and developers, this is really about growth, and it's also really set up to leverage advances in automation and AI. So it's a new part of this industry, and it's already set up with a framework and a mindset to leverage those opportunities as they become real. So what we see here is relevant to the work in the automotive industry, but it's also relevant to how these engineering is deploying across most manufacturing, most turning concepts into hardware. So this is what we see consistently. Cybersecurity, something that, if we go back in the more traditional automotive industry, we have already seen a lot of computerization of onboard systems, so a lot of control, and the mechanic isn't the guy who hit it with a wrench anymore. They need to log into your Ford or into your Toyota and see how it's going rather than just crack the bonnet and have a look. So there's already been that transition and digital literacy in the whole of the workforce. That's also made space for these AV and AI developers and engineers to have to think about issues like cybersecurity. So I think the ability to continue to deploy this is potentially almost considered feature development now in cars as a software platform that we are delivering to a user. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here just to continue to leverage those benefits that we're already seeing. The last one I was going to touch on here, just to really stress the opportunity, is around, I think, and you called it out earlier in the discussion around customer service and aftermarket service. To some extent, this is similar to what we've seen in the general enterprise case for customer service, where it is about handling the customer's experience, leveraging more ability to access deeper data about their circumstances, the products that they're buying, the likely issues, what's going to change their experience. So it's the leveraging both of AI in terms of managing that relationship, but also understanding in data more deeply the experience the customer's having. And additionally, when you throw into that, additionally, we've got cars driving around roads. So there's that kind of remote telemetry, which is now possible with these vehicles to allow them to unpick in real time what the users are experiencing and give them maybe direct feedback in the moment. The potential impact on work size here, I think it brings together a whole lot of different elements, from the mechanics to the customer service, to their after sales service, to the upselling. So I think it brings together a whole lot of those elements, which are all shifting at the same time, but are all benefiting from the same trajectory of AI and automation. likely reduction in workforce size. And a lot of these more customer integral platforms are maturing quickly and are valuable in a lot of industries. So it's not as though they need to necessarily be automotive specific. So the ability to pick up the customer support, the customer service, all of those elements that are being successfully deployed across other industries is already an area that the automotive industry is leveraging, but will continue to leverage. And there continues to be real opportunity. It's hard to pick a winner, but I think the assessment here when we're looking at the data about where we would recommend focus needs to be kind of recognises that back of house, that administrative, that customer service phase is actively being moved across almost all industries. The ones that are unique and critical to the success of automotive is around the infrastructure, the development of the automotive testing platforms. How do we make sure that that's being done as regulation continues to grow in this area in a way that leverages technology supporting that? I mean, it does have a marginally quicker return or transition to benefit realization, benefit attainment than the whole scale physical refit, refurb, redevelopment, rebuild, or build from new of those parts of the either supply chain or of a transition to an EV facility. So I think we see the AI, the automotive driving development and testing as being an area more ripe for development. But we also see that has been kind of implemented in this landscape of AI driving vision systems, AI driving detection systems and navigation systems. So it's already built in a framework that leverages these advances. Whereas the EV battery facility is that connection with the real world. So leveraging a new system with higher capital expectations or requirements. Is there anything about that resonated with you, Nuno, or that you felt was of interest?
Yeah, I love this, and I think you, as you'll see, there's I love the consistency of what we've been saying so far. There's significant transformation. Doesn't matter where you are. I think what you're trying to do here, what we're trying to do, Mike, here is to actually identify the places where you could eventually start in your organization, right? So what we see at an industry specific. Now the question is then how do you then map this to your organizations? It depends on who you are. It depends on your needs. But I think what I love about this and the way that you say is that you already say, listen, there's at least 3 places where you need to tackle, or even more, and let's talk about it. And you start giving the action there. So I love this. Thank you.
No worries. The other half of the equation is being responsible. So recognizing that industries going forward will require their people to deliver in a different way. But there has been, in this moment of time, a huge investment in the experience and expertise of individuals across the workforce who will be impacted. So how do we look at those, and how do we think about dealing with those? And I think, like the automotive industry, as I said, it's if you're in the industry, you are in the business of transformation. It's not unique to the automotive industry, but if you are in the industry of the automotive industry, you are in the business of transformation. It's been a seismic shift in both the nature of the vehicles you're delivering, but also what the function that they will deliver. So this is already transformational, and that's the way that we need to think about it, leveraging the people who already understand what the service is that's hitting the user's hands, but also the user's expectations. What we're taking in order to think about what's possible, we also want to make sure that we're thinking about how do we be responsible with the workforce and make sure that it is sustainable to sustain the industry as much as it is zero weights of potential for the individuals. The focus we'll take here is to look at the traditional internal combustion engine mechanics. We'll look at assembly line workers, and we'll look again at administrative roles. So where we recognise that these roles are either being impacted by the transition of the business or the introduction of technology, how can we leverage the expertise that sits in the hands and the minds of those people to make sure that they're successful and the industry is successful around them? And key to that is becoming a skill building powerhouse. So recognising the skills that your people have, recognising the gap to what the workforce that you require will need, and identifying those opportunities of adjacency and transferability. How can I move who I've got quickly to who I need to be? Because if you've got a choice between spending $40,000 on a new worker or spending $5,000 or $10,000 upskilling somebody who already has understanding of your culture and your product set and your customers and then the industry, then it seems to be a clear proposition that you take the expertise you've already got and add and build and sustain, rather than spending the premium to acquire somebody new that has to acquire a lot of that expertise as well. So I think the industry has to make that choice. Do I spend 40,000 or 100,000 on a new person, or do I spend the $10,000 that gets them to where they need to be? The math
and Mike,
seems clear.
If I can jump in here, I think, and here we're only talking about one person to reskill one person, but the reality is that all the areas that you're identifying, we're talking about hundreds and sometimes thousands of people, right? So we will always have to multiply the $40,000 that you're talking about for 100 or 1,000 people, but actually the cost to reskill is the bigger the scale, the smaller is the cost per person as well. So the proportion is huge, right? You may be talking about, if you need to go and hire people, you might be talking about millions of dollars. When you're talking about reskilling the workforce you're talking about, that you have, that ultimately it's a much lower percentage of that as well. So the gain is there to have a build strategy, and not only to have a buy strategy on the market as well.
Yep, absolutely. And that's this is the transition in thinking. It needs to be about how's the industry is not just the output, it's the people involved in it as well. And how does that scale? So absolutely.
100%.
If I jump in, let's start with this. So what we try and capture here is who we have and who we need, so we can kind of chart a path to get who we have to who we need, where it makes sense, and how might we do it. So what obvious courses exist in the marketplace that can support that? And again, they'll differ across organizations inside an industry, but at least it gives you a sense of how to start thinking about this. And then some headline metrics about what's the use case for investing in the individual. So thinking about your traditional mechanics, they do have an understanding of how the mechanical vehicle hangs together. And while it moves to electronic, there's still a lot of fundamental mechanics that happen inside a vehicle to propel you down the road. And the expectation that in this role, there is the ability to take an outcome, something that's not functioning, and problem solve it. While there's significant diagnostics now to support that even currently is just raising the level of problem solving. So the diagnostics may allow us to more rapidly address most of the more common issues, but it still exists in that individual, the ability to take that and look at a high level. But why is this not working? If it's not one of those straightforward, I've got a flat tire. How does that transition to who we need when we're talking about a significant move to EV markets and AV markets as well with different onboard systems? We're now talking about having to introduce awareness of how you're handling those high voltage or those electrical systems that are on board to deliver power rather than combustion and fuel systems. So that is an awareness, and that is a set of technical skills that now need to be acquired as part of this mechanic framework. So that's definitely something that we need to bring on board. There will be some awareness of electronics. There are electronics on board, but that's different from electronics as a fuel system. And then just an increase in the existing skills of software diagnosis. So like fuel cars at the moment are heavily managed and monitored by onboard systems. So the introduction of extended diagnostics into the software platforms and the EV systems is a build on an existing skill that sits. So again, high voltage systems is a different set of fueling, so that feels to us like it's an additional skill that needs to be acquired, whereas the software diagnostics is a build on skills that already exist and the perfect opportunity to upskill. The ROI in here made the case feels significant. For the individual, though, the ability then to operate on a platform, EV platform, AV platform, which is emerged with the support of AI, allows them to deliver more value. So potentially that's servicing more vehicles because the toolkit that they're familiar with is able to help them move quicker, or that they're operating at a higher level and dealing with more valuable assets, or they're dealing with them in a different way. we've seen these roles in the short term anyway being a much more valuable role. So from the individual's perspective, this is a valuable transition for them. These roles are more valuable. So there's both the benefit for the organisation in retaining the existing experience, but there's also the benefit for the individual that for the short term, for right now and right near, these are much more valuable roles, in the order of 30% more valuable roles in the pocket of the individual. We're jumping down to look at assembly line workers. Then what we've seen, and similar to what we saw in the manufacturing space, is that there's a real opportunity to be transitioning them from working on the line to working with the line. So it's the maintenance around the production line now, and they have an understanding of what the production line's intent is, the nature of quality, what the issues around process are, what proves challenging. Transitioning that experience into managing the production line and the automation of a production line, managing the robotics rather than managing the production systems, allows them to leverage on those things which remain critical. Understanding of quality and consistency remains critical in a robotic infrastructure. Understanding how those tools are doing their work remains critical. So there is specifics around moving from the traditional production line to understanding the mechatronics and the management maintenance of robotic systems. But the process is still key to a successful, somebody being successful in that role. This is potentially like a slightly more significant investment, because we're talking now about moving into a level of expertise. So certifications around mechatronics do deliver a higher level of capability. And again, that makes the individual more valuable. So significantly more valuable when the historic assembly line was on the lower end of compensation. So we see this becoming a significant opportunity for increased value for the individual. But it is also a big step up in the capabilities. It leverages a lot of what they have, but it is a decent step up in the capability. And the last one I think that we're going to have a quick look at was much more enterprise standard. So if you are making cars, there's a very good chance you are a very large organisation, because it requires a lot of capital, which means you have robust enterprise systems, whether it's accounts or sales, marketing, in-house technology, operations, finance. These are not uncommon across enterprise, and typically there's a lot of transition between industries in these spaces because the toolkits are the same. So what we have here is what we see in other areas, that the ability to manage, the ability to coordinate, the ability to focus in detail is what makes for success in the administration workforce. Ability to layer onto that, the ability to understand and interpret data and manage automated workflows of knowledge-based work. So now we're talking about the movement of data rather than manually processing or manually dealing with data individually. So we see here, again, moving more from an admin to a process admin potentially. So responsibility for a process which would have been your job in the past, but helping making sure that that's delivering the outcomes, is the acquisition of those skills around automation, those skills around understanding data at a slightly higher level. So again, similar to the assembly workers, there is a real proposition for the individual, a significant increase in their value in the now term, often because they're not starting at a particularly high level, but it also reflects that this function needs to continue, and it's not just something that will happen in isolation. There is the ability to bracket around it the expertise that the individuals have in how this administration gets applied to your organisation. So what's unique about how that's delivered in your space? And again, there's a range of tools and certifications and training opportunities to transition from current landscape of administration to that process automation, to that data understanding, that data analysis space. And I said, again, the key here, and you made the point, is understanding what the value proposition is for upskilling. So it's not, it is, and it seems clear.
Yeah, and Mike, I think as you were going through the last slides, I kept on seeing the timeline for development as well, the 4 to 6 months, 12 to 18 months, right? And the interesting thing is then what we were saying is that ultimately the organizations will have to invest to actually reinvent themselves, right? Because they will need new machinery, new agents, new new technology, they will need to invest also to make sure that they upskill and reskill their employees. The question is how proactive can they be, right? How can they bring both this reinvention of work and the preparation of the workforce in parallel, and not in sequence, right? Because if you change the way that you operate and only then you try to reskill your people, then you will have no other choice but eventually to abandon a build strategy, actually go and buy the skills that you need there as well. So I think this responsibility, piece was something that was going through my head on actually being able to do the work that you were talking about, that transition, because again, it takes time, the investment of technology, investment in automation, and the investment in upskilling and reskilling. It needs to be done in parallel so that you're able to be, whether it's in 9 months or in 12 months or 18 months, so you're able to be in the future that you wanted to be as well. So it's phenomenal. It's very clear the opportunity that this industry has, the size of the industry and the opportunity ahead, but also a lot of work on trying to understand what the future will look like, to rejig in one way or the other, re-engineer your workforce, the way that you do work, your tasks, the sequence of your tasks, your workforce composition with humans and AI agents as well. But then being able, as you train and create AI agents, you need to upskill and reskill also your human workers as well. So this has been phenomenal, Mike, and thank you as well. As we wrap up with some of these key takeaways that you have here, remember this: reinvent your workforce, right? That's the first piece that you see there. Reinvent your workforce. That means be bold on the way that you will do work moving forward. Make sure that you identify the skills and the people that you'll need in the future. Mobilize, take action to build not only your AI agents, but also to build the skills in your human agents and your human people, right? And then start reskilling and upskilling your workforce as well. So 3 big takeaways: take action, reinvent, mobilize, and reskill. We look at roadmap to adopt AI. We look at increasing productivity and velocity. Look at your culture of opportunity, how mature you are also to eventually automate and evolve in some parts of your businesses, while you might not be as mature in other parts of your business. So prioritize this and be strategic and be a leader there. And last, reskill your people, and leave no one behind as well. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Mike, for all this data and giving the size of and the magnitude of change and opportunity that we have in the industry as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's like the automotive industry knows that it's already in the middle of this. It's already in the middle of EVs. It's already in the middle of AVs. It's already in the middle of reshoring, like bringing together the whole of the supply chain, and it's in the middle of, as we all are, the landing of AI and agents in a real way. So they're already in the middle of this, and I think it's not just what do we do now for next. This is the transformation of this industry that's relevant to the workforce for the next 50 years. It's not just let's just get this done before Friday. This is going to change the nature of how transportation is done for the next 50 years, not the next 5 years. And this is the huge opportunity that this industry is already aware of, because they've been dealing with EVs and AVs, and now they're dealing with everything else that's around it. Amazing.
I think it's both exciting. It's both scary and exciting, I think, as many things in life, right? It's very scary, like, oh my God, it's coming. But it's exciting because ultimately, for those of us that see what needs to be done, and here you're giving the action plan one way or the other, then just let's go build a better world as well. So I love that. Thank you so much. We're getting to the end. So as if you found today's session valuable, we have much more coming up. Imagine what we could also personalize and deep dive into your organization. So we do this at an industry level. But if you want us to actually come in and actually have a deeper look at your organization and be able to give you some more insights on how to do this specifically within this industry, other industries, but specifically for your company, use the QR code on the screen to book a personalized skills masterclass. And and myself or any other of our workforce strategists will be very thrilled to be with you and find a time to meet and provide insights that are specific to your business as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. As I said, hope you found this skills masterclass insightful and that you're walking away with actions. We not only, and Mike does that brilliantly, we not only tell you, listen, here's what we're seeing at a high level, but we actually say, okay, here's what you can do, whether you're ready to do it or not, but this is what you can do. We show the pathways, which I think is phenomenal. So as I said, walking away with actionable strategies to transform your workforce. So we're excited to invite you also to our next skills masterclass. We'll be unbundling work in another exciting industry, aerospace and defense industry, and exploring as any other its unique challenges and opportunities. So mark your calendars. It's Wednesdays. We always do this on Wednesdays. We try to do this in times that are in a time that is amicable for many different time zones. It's 11 a.m. Eastern. And the next one will be in February 19th. So mark on your calendar. So as always, a big thank you to anyone that has attended live or anyone that is watching this recording as well. And Mike, it's always a treat. I learn tremendously from what you say and your perspectives, and you always make me think of something new in these sessions. So thank you so much for sharing this expertise. It's a true pleasure.
Yep, that's been great. Thanks again, Nuno. I've got my security clearance ready for aerospace and defence, so hopefully you're already sorted, or maybe you don't need to tell me. It's probably secure. Looking forward to that one too.
More to come soon, everybody. Thanks so much, Mike. Take care.
Thanks all.